Welcome to the On Assignment podcast, brought to you by Mobilize Man, where our mission is to train and mobilize men as kingdom assets. And I'm excited to say that this week's episode is going to be a special edition because we have two very special guests with us this week, and that would be Will and I's lovely wives. Ladies, welcome to the show. And Will, welcome to the show. How you doing?
I'm doing good, John. How are you?
Good, doing good. So, hey, ladies, we're going to actually put our necks on the line and have you guys introduce our marriages to the listeners and just give them a little insight as to just some of the details of our marriages here. So why don't we start with Brenda?
Absolutely. Well, I'm glad to be back. Well, John and I have been married 32 years and we have 3 adult children. A couple of them are married, 3 grandchildren, which we will be flying out tomorrow actually to go meet our new little granddaughter. So, it's been a fun journey.
Yeah.
With a lot of yeses to Jesus.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we have a full life.
That's right.
It's been fun being married to you, bub.
That's awesome. All right. Very good. Well, go ahead, Sid.
So we're high school sweethearts and we got married in October 2020. We had our daughter shortly after and then our son shortly after that. So we are in it with 2 toddlers, but
Nice.
just having a blast together. And yeah.
Very good.
Yes.
So 5 years.
Yeah.
And what month
Coming
did you
up
get married?
Coming up.
October.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. So 2 kids, 5 years. That's amazing. All right. And we've got 32 years, 3 kids, and 3 grandbabies, and 1 little white wolf named Macy, our little dog. So, all right. Well, hey, thanks for listening in today. We are going to do a format where we thought it'd be fun just to kind of give people our perspective and some insight into some different areas of marriage. And we kind of wanted to make it a little bit to where, we wanted to make it to where it was unscripted. And so what we've done is we've come up with a dozen questions regarding our marriages, and each couple is going to draw one of those questions out of the hat and then answer the question. And so we're not going to, I'll just tell you this, we're not going to get through all 12 questions in this episode, but at least we've got a number of questions to choose from. And yeah, just to give some encouragement and some hope to people out there in their marriages. If you're a single guy looking to get married, or maybe you've been divorced and you're hoping to get remarried, or you're married yourself, listen in. You're going to get lots of great perspective and insight. We're praying on this episode. And so we'll get the ball rolling right now. And I think the older couple can lead the way. All right. Okay.
The wisdom.
So we got the bucket.
Wisdom.
We got the
do
bucket.
I get to draw?
Yeah, you get to
Okay.
draw. All right. Go ahead and draw.
Hey, first question for
Okay.
us. What do you each do differently that drives the other a little crazy?
Oh, this is a good one to kick it off.
Wow.
But you've learned to accept or appreciate it.
Yeah.
Oh my
Okay.
goodness.
Yeah.
So
That's a great question. And it's incredible how when you first get married and you've been dating and you don't realize certain things, and then all of a sudden you're struck with the fact that this is entirely different than what I thought coming into marriage, and now you have to just deal with it, right? So this is a great question. And let's see. I think we should.
Are you trying to be careful?
No, I'm not trying
Because
to be.
we are really different.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So there's a lot of things we could pull from.
Yeah. Yeah.
And say.
Okay. Well, why don't you get started on it?
That's a good move. Veteran move there. I'm taking note. That's good.
I think that I'm a little bit more of a squirrel, like a little ADHD, a little bit, and so I tend to start things and then I move on to something else and I've never finished something. So I would have to say, even today, let's just use today because we have a lot of examples. But even today, we're packing and getting ready for this trip, and John's got his, he's got everything rolling, and I'm like, it's hot. I'm going to go out to the pool. And he's like,
So
okay,
good.
but like, are you packed and ready? And I'm like, you know what? I'm not. I'm not. But the pool, it's hot.
Yep.
And if I spend just a little bit of like time at the pool. And so he's like, okay. He's just learned to be like, oh, okay,
Yep.
here she goes.
Yep.
And
And I'm thinking, okay, we've got a episode to record tonight. We've got, just details to get ready, and she's gonna go out and lay in a air mattress on the pool and be like,
it was glorious.
Worth it.
yeah, yeah,
Anyway, I was
That's
thinking
good.
just something just even today.
Yeah.
But and throughout our marriage, I know that we talked about this on another podcast, is how when John and I were first married, I came from a very large, loud home. And so cupboard doors, lights left on, and John, he's orderly.
yeah,
And that's great. I appreciate that. But I was leaving lights on, cupboard doors open, and he'd be like, oh my.
yeah. It was completely foreign to me. Like, I was like, what is going on? Honestly. And so that was really an eye opener for me when at first I was like, well, this needs to be corrected.
Mhm.
Your original response is like, well, this is a deficit that needs to be, adjusted and corrected.
That you're going to fix.
That
Mhm.
someone's got to step in and repair, and I'm the repairman.
Yeah.
That's what you
Okay.
think, right?
Yep.
It honestly, man, there's certain elements that just don't ever change. And if you were to change them, you would actually be trying to rewire your spouse in such a way to where they wouldn't operate the way they were meant to operate.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, that was a big one for me though. I just remember being struck with that, and like another clear example of that is like just the way we organize things, or maybe, so
I'm not
like,
known for
and we mentioned this on a previous podcast as well, when it's like, so I'm a file it guy, like A through Z files, and so it's like, I could go to a bill in 2023 from May and be able to find that bill right away. And it's just like, that's an orderly system of organization. And so I'm a file it guy, and my wife is very much a stack it lady.
Mm-hmm.
She stacks things. She makes stacks and piles.
And they're not orderly.
They're not orderly at all.
But I know where things are.
But she knows where things are at. And so at first that really, it just bothered me, because you think that it's your way or the highway. There's this element where you're like, you kind of get dialed in or locked into your way of doing things. And then you begin to think that's the only way to do things.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we get to that point and we allow ourselves just to be constantly frustrated by it, it doesn't do anyone any good. And I was frustrated a lot at first.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a point in time where, someone was just like, hey, you need to like pick your battles, John.
Mm-hmm.
You're picking these battles that are just minor little details that it doesn't impact your life one way or another. I'm like, well, it impacts my electric bill when every light on the house is on all day. But it's like, okay, but what would happen though if my wife became like me? That is like a nightmare. I don't want me. I don't want to be married to me. I married a creative, free-flowing woman who's always thinking about what's next, and who's always, she's in the moment, but she's always moving forward. And it's like, I don't want it any other way. And so to have those things get corrected or fixed, not that they need corrected or fixing, but that was my mindset originally, would be like trying to shape her into myself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's long term, that's not what you want.
Right.
So I think those are a couple of examples.
They are. And I think just to add to that is that I actually, when you accepted the way I was, I could feel the acceptance that you weren't trying to change me. And so that was really key for how I function, because sometimes I'm like, darn, I need to do better. I'm not organized enough. Like and so I would beat myself up trying to be someone I'm not. And we can all grow and change, and I can become, but I just, that was really key, is the acceptance on your part made me secure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was very vital for
Yeah.
our relationship.
That's really good.
Yeah, and and this isn't by any means a one way street. I mean, there's areas like, what would be an area where you've had to really kind of, let me be who I am, even though it was something that really bothered you. I mean, we talked about kind of organizationally and that type of thing, but
I think what comes to mind is, you are orderly, and so allowing each other, because like if you open your drawer in the bathroom, everything is lined up, and
that's so
so
weird.
it's like,
That's weird.
what?
No, it's not.
That's
No,
That's how I am.
I know there's people out there that
Yeah.
can relate.
right.
And so if something was out of order, then you'd be like, oh, this just ruins my flow.
Oh yeah.
And so then there's frustration in that. And it's like, okay,
Yeah.
but then I think I was like, okay, but like you have to learn with kids
Yeah.
too,
Yeah. For
to
sure.
be adjustable and
Yeah.
like flexible,
Yep.
Yeah.
and things aren't going to go like you want them so orderly. And so we actually, our differences, God brought us together perfectly with our differences, because we actually complement each other.
That's really good.
Like I need you and you actually need what I carry.
Yeah.
And so I feel like instead of the wedge of the differences, we have learned like those are actually gifts
Yeah.
to each other. And we can't try to change each other like we've talked about.
Right.
We actually have to flow and go,
Yeah.
you're a gift. You do things different.
Mm.
And we had to actually say, like, you're going to think different about it too, because you're different, and it
Yeah.
doesn't make you wrong that we think differently, but we have to creatively, get on the
Yeah.
same page.
Yep.
That's good.
So,
Yeah. So if you're out there listening and you've got those little idiosyncrasies and quirky things that your spouse does, learn to love those things. That's a beautiful part of who they are, and if you're dating and getting ready to get married, begin to ask yourself questions and see what those areas are, because it might be nice to know about them before you
For sure.
before you get married, although there's always going to be surprises. But
there always
that's
is.
part of getting to know each other and go deeper in your relationship, but also accepting each other for who you are.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And knowing that there's going to be areas where where each of us can develop and grow, but there's also going to be areas where we're made just the way God made us to be, even though it's quirky and there's some idiosyncrasy to it. So
Yep.
it's really good. I love it.
That's great.
Okay, you
Good.
guys ready for a question?
Now it's your turn.
It's a hard one.
Is there a scripture or faith principle that has anchored you in tough seasons of
I
marriage?
knew it.
Nice.
We were gonna go
Good draw.
You want to start?
Yeah. I will say, so Will has always been like, he's known for like his joy. Like he can laugh through anything. And he's just always looking at the brighter side. And that's something that drew me to him right away. Even, in our marriage, that's something that's really made us stronger. So I would say, I always like, through the trenches of toddlerhood, I'm like, the joy of the Lord is our strength.
Yeah.
But even like in our marriage, like if we go through something, like that's always in my mind, like the joy of the Lord is our strength. So like, where can we find joy right now? And this guy is so good at always pulling that forward. And has helped me a lot, not just like for me, mama, and so that's really been a helpful scripture.
Good.
And just something that we have really like just leaned back on time and time again.
That's amazing.
good.
Good,
Yeah.
babes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think another one that we lean on is just our house is built on the rock. And when you instill that and that becomes your family value, it could never be stripped.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and no matter what season you're in, whether you're in a super high season or a super low season, if your house is built on the rock, there is that consistency.
Yeah.
Whereas everything feels inconsistent, things aren't going your way, but you have that consistency.
Yeah.
You're praying together, you're going to church together, you have a relationship with the Lord together, and he's involved in your relationship. Like the whole world could be falling apart.
Wow.
Right.
And you have that to stand on.
Right.
And that's been a game changer for us.
Well, and I
once
think like with that, like there's a peace that follows that.
Yep.
You know, there's a peace like that surpasses all understanding that follows that, because like there's nothing that can shake that.
No, it can never be stripped away from you. And yeah, like you said, you can get, I think as a man in marriage, there's a lot of weight and a lot of pressure that you can feel, and that can cause anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
And having these strong values to where my house is built on the rock, the Lord will never, he'll never let me fail. He'll never let me fall. He's going to teach me some lessons that are going to be really, really hard and difficult, but there's light on the other side of those.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so it really helps remove some of that anxiety that men can put on themselves, that pressure of like, it's all on me, or I'm responsible for this household or the way that things go. And you're really not.
Mm-hmm.
It's the Lord is guiding you through there, through those times. And he's bearing the weight of that pressure that you're feeling.
Yeah.
It's really good.
And leaning on him to get you through those times is really important. And it helps as the man. I think, especially a young man in marriage, it's like you recognize how much your position in the household, the weight that carries.
Oh yeah.
And you need the Lord to guide you through that.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
That's good, babe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Anything else with that?
I think just understanding like my place, like hearing that from you, my place is your helper.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like, so let's say like he comes home from like a hard day at work and he's stressed. It's like, okay, it's my job right now to make sure that like he's good and we're going to be able to be a good team right now. And what does he need in order to do that? You know?
Right.
And so I think that understanding that there is pressure on the husband because they are the authority of the house, right? And so understanding that is also crucial as like my place as your helper.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Good. Yeah.
So good.
I love the culture that creates in your home for your kids, that stability when you're building your home upon the rock of your faith in Jesus and what God's doing. You know, like you said, the world could be falling apart outside, but you guys are good because of God's grace and his goodness, and he's with you. And that creates a stable, very stable, secure place for your kids to grow up.
For sure.
You know, your bad days at work or you're not feeling well or whatever it is, don't result in this roller coaster of a ride that your kids have to experience. What kind of mom is going to show up today, or who's dad going to be when he gets home from work, you know? And so that stability of culture is huge when it comes to raising kids who feel loved and secure. And so I love that. And you guys model that really well.
It's really good to see that culture like come alive in your house. Cause there's times where like even our kids, like our daughter will remind us, like if something's not going her way or our way as a family, she'll be like, let's pray.
Oh yeah.
And like,
yeah,
kind of like she sometimes snaps us out of it. It's like, oh yeah,
yeah.
why don't we pray?
He is such a leader.
Yeah. Today we had some kids over and it was kind of chaotic. It got like chaotic. Some kids were getting in trouble. Next thing I know, Rustin's pulling out communion cups from the pantry. I was like, oh, sister, maybe not right. I love it.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah. So yeah, that's true, babe. She does remind us.
Mhm.
Yeah.
When you set that culture, it's like everyone has that culture, that value inside the home. And it's like we all kind of pull each other up.
Yeah.
That's so good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Even our 4-year-old.
Yeah.
She's not even 4 yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Next.
My turn to draw a question.
Okay.
Did you draw last?
Yeah, you want me to hold it so you can?
Oh, okay. So I don't.
No cheating, John.
I think I peeked.
Yeah. Did you?
I did peek, but I didn't see it. But I was like looking in there.
Okay.
Which one do I want?
All right. I just need to get one.
It looked like I was peeking.
Okay,
I
here we
didn't
go.
know.
All right.
Okay.
These glasses on. So our question is, this is an interesting one. How do you support each other's individual dreams without losing sight of your marriage goals? Again, let me repeat it. How do you support each other's individual dreams without losing sight of your marriage goals? Interesting.
That's good.
So there's goals that you have as a married couple, and there's also dreams and things that you would have as an individual. So how do you support each other in those dreams without it actually, what's it say? Without
losing sight
of your marriage goals.
goals.
Okay.
You know, one thing that comes to mind is that you were working your own company and you were working really hard. And I felt like you needed an outlet of a hobby or something that you enjoyed because you were putting in so many hours. And so I was like, I really encouraged you, you know, get something that, you know, what do you love? Like asking the questions like, what do you enjoy? What do you want to do in your spare time? And hunting was something that was really, you know, came to the forefront of your mind. And then I was like, okay, maybe we can get you a bow. And then I found a bow at a garage sale.
Garage sale.
But you know, it's like you're
What brand?
starting out, so might as well start, you know, you
What
don't
brand
know.
was it?
It was like a PSE, something like that. It was like,
Perfect.
it was an old bow. And I'm like, Brenda, you don't just go and buy a bow at a garage sale. They have different sizes. They have different, you know,
You can't
right
go
hand,
thrift
left
or
hand.
anything. Are you kidding me?
It's like,
Good deal is a good
She gonna
deal.
find it.
Come on.
it was remarkable because she told me she found this bow for $35. And I'm like, okay, whatever. You know, it's like, I wasn't as excited as I probably should have been, but then sure thing. It's the right draw length. It's the right size bow.
Yeah, I brought it home. It was
Brenda.
perfect.
It was just like, I was like, oh my goodness. So yeah.
But with
That's
that,
great.
you know, then I encouraged you in some of those, like, I'm thinking more like supporting you in your individual goal of, you know, doing something hobby. But those hobbies, I know for some families, they overtake their life, and pretty soon
Right.
a man or the woman is actually, it's obsessing their time, eating into, you know, their family time. And so one of the things I appreciate about you is that you always had family as priority. And so when you would hunt during hunting season, it wasn't like you said, peace out, I'm gone for a month.
Right.
You actually, and you never overspent. And so I felt like there was always a healthy balance, but I encouraged you with that. But with that comes, like, you never lose sight of your priorities.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you were good at maintaining that. So that was one thing that came to mind.
That's good.
I think keeping in mind that is an individual. See, God gives us dreams, right? God gives people dreams in their heart, things they want to do, whether I want to write or I want to travel, whatever it is. And when a person is able to walk in their dreams and fulfill the dreams that God's given them, they're actually a more complete, better person because of that.
Right.
It's true.
And so ultimately, when a person's able to dream and fulfill those dreams, then the marriage is supported and built up because both individuals are thriving, right?
Right.
And so I hear what you're saying exactly, where it's like, you know, when the hobby or whatever it is, we become obsessed with it and we lose sight of our marriage, that's where things break down. When a good thing becomes a God thing, right?
Yep.
And we begin
Right.
to worship that thing, and which happens more often, quite often actually. But you know, so like for me, one of the answer to that question would be like my wife has always loved to go thrifting and do consignment sales, and she's always been super diligent with that, like going out and buying things for cheap and then going and reselling them. And she's been super effective at it, and she's very good at it. The challenge for me is that the stack it, file it people, when you go thrifting and you have stacks of thrifted items, it's stressful. It's like why do we have so much stuff here, right? And so
all the rubber beads.
There was like a sense for me of like, I'd rather have a room that's completely clean, cleared, and just, you know, ready to go. But yet that room, when you have a thrifter involved, that room becomes winter clothes, fall clothes, summer clothes, you know, all the clothing, the decor items. And at first I was like, I don't need any of this stuff in my house, and I don't necessarily want it in my house. But I realized though that this was what she really loved to do, and it was like a dream of hers. And so I have always tried to really support her in that. and tried to be very much open to whatever it is that she wants to do in that area, because it's part of who she is and the dream that she has. And so I, now it doesn't affect me at all. I have a Connex box out in the back 40 where she puts it. No, I'm teasing. But no, we get used to, you just develop your own personal systems in it, and it's fine. But me supporting her, she loves it so much. She's able to contribute the money she makes on it. And so there's a real sense of value in it. So why would I want to keep her from doing that?
Right.
And so that's an example of an individual dream that I could think of supporting.
Yeah. And I think also you have supported me when I've done ministry stuff. So if I'm traveling or, I'm going to do lead a woman's thing, then you're actually supporting me in that dream.
Yeah.
And praying for me.
Yeah.
And sending me a text. And so that's the way you show support. It's interesting though, because I feel like in marriage, you actually could hold things over each other's heads.
Oh yeah.
And keep a record. Oh, you're leaving me again for, and then really you're not supporting each other. It actually becomes divisive.
Right.
And so I think there is that good, healthy place where you actually truly support, and you're going to support with your words, your actions. And so, I know that you've done that for me.
Yeah. That's good. And it's so worth it. It's so worth it.
Yeah.
Speaking of verses, that you guys shared, is one of the great verses in Ephesians 5, where it talks about how we are to love husbands are to love their wives like Jesus loved the church, laying his life down for her. It's like, what better thing would there be to do as a husband than to lay down your life to help your wife fulfill the dreams that she has?
Yep.
Because when your wife is fulfilled and she's able to do the things that she's dreamed of doing, and I look at my wife and the things she's been able to experience, the people's lives she's been able to impact, it's like, that just brings more joy to the marriage. That just brings more unity to the marriage.
Yeah.
And so it might seem counterintuitive sometimes, maybe not to me necessarily, but maybe to some people, but it's totally worth you laying down things so that your wife or your spouse can dream and do the things they want to do when it benefits the marriage as a whole. So that's really good.
So good.
That's great.
Right?
I do have a question. So I feel like spouses, fear can creep in when they start to see their spouse do hobbies, like what you were saying,
Right.
where it could easily become an idol. Or if John didn't have his priorities straight, where family came first, the hobby came first. If someone is either having that fear or they see in their husband that their priorities are out of whack, what would you suggest for that spouse?
Good question.
That's a really good question, because I think that happens a lot.
It happens all the time.
And then the wife's really frustrated. She feels neglected because he now has put the hobby as the idol. And we pour money into that, but not other things. She feels neglected. And so that really has to be a conversation of, we need balance.
Yeah.
We need to either find a good, happy medium of setting our priorities, realigning priorities. But a lot of times when, and maybe you guys can speak to this, a man likes to conquer. So when they're going after that hobby, I'm going to conquer this thing. I'm going to get, they get into it. It's hard, because I've heard wives say, I've approached my husband and he doesn't listen. He's caught up. He doesn't see it. I'm the nagging wife and he's not hearing me. And so, just as men, making sure that those don't supersede your family.
Yeah. I think we talk a lot on this podcast about priorities. And I think as a man, a good exercise would be write out your priorities.
Good.
And you should have your spouse right there with you, and you should be talking about them, but approach them from a very sober and humble position as you're going through them. And like, of course, we're going to say God first, family second, and those things, but is that actually, how your priorities are laid out?
Yeah.
Or is something getting ahead of those things? And approach it from a humble position. I know I've had to do that before, and it's super, you need to reevaluate your priorities because things can get out of whack. And you can get into the habit of saying God is first, family second, and then the rest follows.
Yeah.
But is that actually how
Mm-hmm.
you're walking right now?
That's so good. I think that needs, I just love the aspect of you doing it with your wife.
Mm-hmm.
And if you develop some of those habits early on, it's something that carries you through some of these. Because, sometimes you build the foundation after so many years and that hobby's been the thing that then it's hard to change and it's hard to shift. So I love it from a young couple saying, actually start now.
Right.
Do that now. Write those things. Do it together.
Yeah.
Dream together.
Yep.
Share those dreams. What are those priorities though? That you can bring the salt shaker back, in alignment to the marriage. So it's so good.
Yeah, that's a good question, babe.
All right. Well, good. You guys ready to go?
Oh, you're picking.
Sid's time
Not
to.
looking. I am. What's the silliest argument?
Oh, man. We were just talking about this.
What's the silliest argument that you've ever had? Okay.
Did you have time to think about it?
I mean, they're silly, obviously, because I can't think of one other than me being like a backseat driver on the way to church or something.
No, I'm when you're driving, I'm terrible in the shotguns.
Yeah, no, 100% you are. I don't know. Can you think of something silly that I'm sure you guys are talking about how she's like the stacks and you're like the filer.
Oh, we're the complete opposite.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm like the organized one and he's like the one that just drops things as he walks,
Oh yeah.
And I remember when we first got married, I was like, how do I keep finding socks in the couch? Like, why are you taking your socks off on the couch?
Right.
Like, why are they stuffed in the cushion? Like, I just thought that was the most like absurd
Man,
thing.
that sounds bad.
And I just remember like I would like go sit on the couch and be like, gross. But I remember just you'd be at work and I'd be like,
Mm-hmm.
but then it just, we don't do that anymore. But that's probably the base of one of our silly conversations or arguments.
Yeah, she's definitely the cleaner, neat freak, cleaning till. I mean, I've come to love it, and I've actually I've grown in that area.
You have voiced that for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've grown in that area where I like a clean kitchen now, so I'll stay up till 9 p.m. cleaning the kitchen. But no, it's probably a lot where our arguments have stemmed from was just cleanliness and organization and dealing with. I'm kind of a I get excited about things too, and like squirrel, on to the next thing. Okay, this thing was really fun. It worked for a little bit, but now what's the next thing?
Like, but did you finish it? Do I need to clean it up?
Right. Yeah.
I'm the dreamer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But I don't know, silly argument. I can't think of something specific.
Right.
I mean, every couple has silly arguments, but
and most of them are silly, aren't they?
Obviously, because I can't remember, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Most of them, if you like, why are we fighting over this?
Yes.
Exactly.
This is ridiculous.
Yes, and it always happens like before church or before like a ministry intent or you know what I mean. Like I think it always happens before or I host a Bible study and I could almost guarantee that 80% of our dumb arguments are right before all my Bible study girls are coming into our house, and it's just like, okay, enemy, get behind me.
That's right.
But yeah, I would say that's probably my answer for that.
And you just laugh about it.
Yeah.
You're gonna go to bed that night and you're gonna be like, what? We were arguing about what? And just laugh about it.
I can't remember what the argument was about, but I think there was a time where we were arguing about something dumb. I remember where we were. We were at, our second house we moved into. And I can't remember what the argument was, but I remember both of us looking at each other across the kitchen counter and we were like, how did we get here from that point? What? This is dumb. Let's start over,
Right.
And I think that honestly, with silly arguments, it's important to just like humble yourself and just be like, okay, I was wrong. You were wrong.
Yes.
This is stupid,
Yeah.
and it's just like, let's just start over. This is not us,
That's right.
And so,
well, and every married couple deals with it.
yeah.
You're not alone in
Uh-huh.
the weird random bickering.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You move past it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Move past
That's
it,
right.
laugh about it, grow from it.
Yeah. And one of the tricks is catching it before it becomes hurtful, right? Yeah. So it's like the Bible talks about, be angry and sin not.
Yep.
And then talks about don't let the sun go down on your wrath,
Right.
that type of thing. It's like,
Right.
yeah. So it's like you're arguing and you're getting angry. And if you begin to see like inflammatory words come, or use those words like the very definitive words like you never or you always.
Yep.
And it's like, be careful when you start seeing those signs, because it's not worth a silly argument
Right.
to hurt your spouse.
Yeah.
Which happens, and then it blows up. And that's what happens, though, is it blows up, becomes something where you made just a mountain out of a molehill.
Right.
And it was like, oh, man.
Early on in our marriage, we just started going to the collective, and Pastor Ben was talking a lot about manipulation.
Just say that.
Yeah. And like that's where a lot of that can sneak into a relationship, is those little arguments where you just manipulate words to, we know our spouses so well that we know what triggers them and how we can twist words into making them feel a certain way or making them feel bad. And
the silent treatment.
Yeah, totally.
We've been really good. I'm so thankful that we listened to that like very early on in our marriage, and like we're good about not going to bed upset with each other.
Well, I think we've given each other like permission to be like, to call out the manipulation. So like, I'll be honest, I have definitely done the silent treatment, and my husband, thankfully, because we have been like, okay, I give you permission to call this out because that's not me. And so he would be like, babe, this is manipulation. Like, do you want to start over? And that may sound bad.
That sounds manipulative.
Right. But like, I've given him that permission, right? To
right.
do that. And same vice versa. I think your thing you would leave the conversation and just so that I know you're upset. Right. But I would be like, okay, like, you know what you're doing, and I think that that's helped us a lot too in those silly arguments to just like, we've given each other that permission to call out the manipulation so that there is no hurt feelings behind it. Right. And it's allowed, it's kind of given us a free pass, I would say, in those silly arguments. So,
yeah.
And understanding your spouse, like she's very quick and wants to get it done and over with. And I'm a thinker.
Yeah.
And so kind of figuring that out when you're newly married is like, she's like, why are we're going around in circles. And I'm like, what? I took a little bit of time to process it. So figuring that out as a couple is really, really good.
Yeah.
And understanding like how that person operates and functions and giving that person the space that they need, or also understanding that like if she's past something, like, do I really need to bring it up again?
Right. Right. Yeah.
So
the rehashing. Do we need to rehash this again?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. Okay. Anything else on that one?
No, it was a good.
Yeah, that was really good. Okay. All right. Next turn.
All right.
It was supposed to be silly, but it got serious.
Well,
how has your view of love changed from when you were dating to now?
Read it again.
How has your view of love changed from when you were dating to now? So we have 32 years.
Yeah. I think that if I talk to any young man before he gets married, you have zero idea what love is. I'll just say that off the.
You might be a romantic, but you don't know what love is.
You may be Mr. Romeo, but you have no idea how to lay your life down.
Right.
I'm teasing. Well, actually, I'm not. But
No,
no, and that was me too. I'm not saying that judgmentally at all. It's you have very little idea of what it means to truly love someone you may want to know how to love someone. You may be willing to step into that and do it. But man, my understanding of love between before we were married and now is remarkable. And I'll say that it's not because I've just gotten smarter and more intelligent. It's because my wife has loved me in such a way to where I've seen true, profound depths of sacrifice and care and little, like being with me through the darkest days. When you have these experiences where it's like, I'm in the depths of depression, or she's on the floorboard of the car in agonizing pain with just a pregnancy issue, and you're just trying to rush her. You're scared. You're rushing her to the hospital, and whatever. All these different experiences through the years, where it's like, oh my word, this woman loves me so much. And so my understanding of love has been shaped by my wife's ability to love.
Wow. That's
And at the same time, it's been shaped by God's goodness and grace and his mercy in my life and his kindness to me. And so all of that being said, the thing about that statement is that I would never assume that I have anything figured out about love still. There's so much more to it.
It's like an onion.
Yeah, it is. You're always unpeeling another layer of it. And it's a beautiful thing as you look at marriage and you look at the seasons of marriage and you look at the maturing process. It's really, really great to be where we're at, because we've got water under the bridge and hindsight that help us see the fact that, man, if you can get through some of those key challenges, wow, it just exponentially just develops your love for each other, and the depth of your love, the understanding that you have of each other, and the fact that she's willing to go through anything for me, and I'm the same for her. And so for me, it's this maturing process of love, and so you should read and study it, but it can only be understood as you live it out.
That's so true.
You can't buy that kind of knowledge, and you can't buy that type of experience. There's nothing other than just living it out and learning to love. And so that's my
really
short answer, long answer.
It's good, John.
I think when we first got married, you're so in love, and then you realize, you get married and you realize how selfish you are, and that you really have to lay your life down, and you have to choose love.
Right.
And so you're confronted with this, this place of we're gonna till death do us part, in sickness and in health. Those aren't, you say those vows, and it's easy to say them at the altar until you walk through some things. And then you're like, okay, I'm choosing love. I'm choosing to lay my life down here. I'm choosing big love. And that was one of my, 1 Peter 4:8 talks about that, above all else, love deeply and love big. That was I'm going to love big. I want to love big. And Jesus helps me love big. I don't do this on my own strength. Jesus helps me love big. And, through depression, through financial hardships, it's that place where you choose love, and you choose each other, and you come together, and you say, we will be victorious together. We're going to pray through this. We're going to fight through this. We're going to choose each other through this. And even those moments where we said, you know what, where you have to reflect and go, we love each other. There's love there. Because sometimes it's because of the seasons of that we've walked through, you kind of go is there love? Yes, there is love. And you choose each other time and time again, and it becomes mature love. It becomes a fine wine that's it's a rich kind of love. And it is a gift at this point in time, but there's more. It's great. Is we've got more years ahead.
It's so true. And there's a lot of things that happen in life. When you first get married, there's a lot of firsts.
Right.
You're newly married, all these firsts, first home, first baby, first whatever it is, all of these firsts, your first car you get together.
Yeah.
And then you go through you're raising your family. And so your love and your focus is on raising this family. And then you reach a season where you're empty nesters and your children have left the house. And as you've been working on love all those years, it's in the middle of all this activity and everything that's going on in life. But then you're left when it's just the two of you. And it's like, wow, I really do love you. And
That's
it's
right.
like,
That's right.
there's like this sense of like, well, I don't want anything else or anything different. And that's where that investment into developing it through all those years and all the challenges and all the activity and everything that's going on, keeping your marriage as a priority, to where your wife is priority over your children, your wife is priority over your career, those types of things. It's like, boy, it pays huge dividends in the long run.
I agree.
And it's really a beautiful thing to be comfortable with somebody,
Right.
and to be able to just trust somebody because they've been trustworthy. And so I just wouldn't, it takes a long time. And we're still in it, we're still growing, and we're still working on that. But I feel like that my understanding of love, since the time I was married to now, since the time I said I do and said my vows, did I mean those vows? Absolutely.
Yep.
Did I know what it would take to have to walk those vows out? No.
Right.
It is not easy to be a faithful husband or a faithful wife. It's not easy to choose your wife or your husband. It's not easy throughout all those years. And there's times where it's like we mess up, and it's like, it's not easy to forgive and to repent and to forgive and to humble yourself. But as we go through all of those different things in the course of building our love, that love is growing and getting stronger and maturing. And so I would tell, like that young guy standing on the altar, just excited to get married, there was nothing wrong with him or his understanding of love. And so I may joke about the fact that you have no idea what love's about. That's okay.
Yeah.
You just gotta stay committed to it and just keep going. And you will one day have a much better understanding of love as you walk it out. So it's good.
That's really good.
I love it. Yeah. And here we are doing a podcast on marriage.
I know, right?
All right, guys, your turn.
Oh yeah, go ahead. Sorry, I keep having these questions, but I want to get this wisdom out of you guys, because we see or hear about so many couples that have spent their whole marriage loving something else or being distracted, and just all their love has been external and not towards their spouse. And then you see their kids leave the house and they either get a divorce or they drift apart and do their own things. You kind of explained it in your answer, but like
practical tips?
Yeah, practical. How did you not let that happen? Or what were things that you did in your marriage to where that you can instill in a young couple like us, to where it's like, these are the things that you should focus on to not let that happen?
Yeah. I, speaking to the men, the husbands, I would say that the ability to choose your wife over everything else every day is really important. And you can do that practically in certain ways. And like one thing that was, one thing that's been very much a part of our marriage is we say, I love you a lot. And I've mentioned this maybe in another episode or whatever, but it's like, we still say, I love you at the end of every conversation on the phone.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, why do we do that?
Right.
It's like, how many times you have to, no, but there's a constant reiteration of the fact that I love you.
Yeah.
And certain times you're saying it as just part of the normal rhythm of a conversation, but
it's a good rhythm.
It's very important to remind yourself and your spouse of that. practically speaking as well, you have to make your wife the priority.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, when I would get home from work, usually I'd park my truck, and when my kids were little, by the time I parked my truck, they were already crawling into it, wanting to play,
wanting gum,
wanting gum because I always had gum in my truck for the kids, and I would have to like wade through the kids to go give mom a kiss and let her know that I was home. And that was kind of the point at which the kids knew, okay, Dad's got to say hi to mom first.
Right.
And then after that, he's all yours.
Yeah,
But I had to go, and I tried to do that through the years where that was a priority of letting her know that I was home and putting her first, because it'd be easy just to head right into the backyard and start wrestling and playing with the kids.
Yeah.
So that was one thing. I think the communication piece is been something we've grown in as well, as far as like touching base, keeping in touch communication wise, where there's communication throughout the course of a day. Just, that kind of thing has been good. Let me think here real quickly. The time piece. So you're giving your wife, you don't want to give your wife the leftovers of who you are.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want her to get just the scraps.
Yeah.
And so that means that there's got to be time set aside for you guys to get time together that's important, where you can give her your presence and be fully there. And that looks different at different seasons of life.
Yeah.
Like right now for us, that looks like in the evenings. Instead, we will go and we'll sit. We've got this real pretty little hillside we'll go sit in the grass and watch the sunsets here in Oregon in June. It's like the most beautiful month.
That's awesome.
For sunsets, And so we'll just go and we'll take the dog out with us and we'll sit and we'll watch the sunset, talk, just be together. And so that time spent when you have a wife and 3 kids and they're little, that looks like tucking the kids into bed and then getting some time in at that point. Or that looks like maybe you taking the kids for the evening and letting your wife go out and hang out with some friends or go to a Bible study or whatever she wants to do. So those are types of practical things where you're prioritizing her and showing her that she means more than really anything or anyone else in your life. And it doesn't always, you have to course correct sometimes.
Right.
There's times where it's like, I have not been doing that well enough and I need to make adjustments.
Yeah. And I think that all of those practical things, you're choosing each other. You're choosing, I want to spend time with you.
Right.
Yep.
And when you are in a busy season, it's coming back to that, like, we haven't had time and we need to.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's like getting it back. But it's choosing each other daily. And you plant those seeds and you will have that kind of a harvest at 32 years.
Yeah.
It's because the seeds that were sown to say, you're a priority, you're my number one. We need to spend time. And so, it's for the long game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Choosing each other.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. Very good.
Got any questions?
No.
Okay. All right. Next. Big Will.
What do we got? When you hit a season of feeling disconnected, what practical steps help you reconnect?
All right. Good.
I love it.
So when you hit a season of being disconnected, what practical steps do you take to reconnect?
Date night.
Yeah, you have to prioritize. You have to continue to date your spouse. And that's what we've constantly heard. And when you first get married, you're like, oh yeah, of course, that's a no-brainer. Like that's easy. Then you get 2 rascals in the mix and you're just exhausted.
Yeah.
Like when we went to Bend a couple weekends ago, it was a fantastic time, but it was just a day trip. It's a 4-hour car ride there and back.
Night,
Yeah.
No, that's basically a day trip when you have 2 kids.
Yeah.
We
24 hours.
drive there 4 hours, spend the day, sleep, and then come back the next day. That's a day trip.
Yeah.
But we just came home and we were just exhausted.
Yeah.
And it just goes to show you, like, man, it is exhausting, but we still need to prioritize. And so with our house, we just started implementing these Thursdays. We have a babysitter come.
Okay.
And
Like no matter what.
Yeah.
That's so good.
Every single Thursday, we have a babysitter scheduled to come, and that's going to be our time to get away and go whatever we want to do as a couple, but go on a date or go do something. Or like you said, like maybe Sid needs to go have a girls' lunch or something like that. Then that's her time too. But continuing to date your spouse helps you in those seasons of where you're feeling
and you
disconnected.
can get creative too. Like, I think there's been times after the kids have gone down, like let's say we didn't get a date that week for whatever reason, right? But after the kids go to sleep, we can go outside out back and just like hang out for a second and enjoy just each other's company. And that way you can play a game.
I like gym. We went and worked out.
We did work out together.
That was actually fun.
Yeah. But like I'm like notorious for always like coming up with like the 20 questions on like date night, or like anytime we get together, he's like, really, questions again?
Right.
But it's so fun for us because it's just like you get in those like deep conversations that you typically wouldn't get into, So yeah, date night for sure, and being consistent with it. I think also just like have fun. Like just have fun. There's nothing like connecting with your spouse than laughing together.
That's right.
Right? And like I don't know, like being silly together. Like yesterday in the car ride, again with the kids, we had the most like outrageous music playing.
Kids techno. And the kids were just
to roll with it and just like have so much
just a dance
in
party
the car. And it was just like, just have fun.
Yeah.
And like you don't always need to talk to connect with your spouse, right? You can laugh,
go on
with each
walks.
other
Go on walks. I know our pastor always says, so females are face to face, right? And males are side by side. So make sure that you get that different forms of connection with your spouse.
Yeah. Always start a deep conversation in the car.
I know. That's key.
It works.
It works.
I know. Yeah. And I don't know, another way to connect.
I have a question for you guys.
Yeah.
Because, you have a young family, and because of your job, and how do you guys pull that off when you're on a shift for 48 hours? I don't know what your shifts are. 24 hours. And can you communicate? Like, has that been any hindrance, with a young family? Do you have to work harder at connecting? And
yeah, for sure. I think, if you don't mind me starting.
Go ahead.
Honestly, it just depends on the day at the station, right? If it was busy or not. But Will always makes a point to like FaceTime me at the end of the day, no matter what. And yes, granted, there have been days where that just hasn't been possible because of like the calls and whatever. But he does, even sometimes it's late and he wakes me up, and I do try to answer. I'll be like, babe, I love you, but I gotta go. But you know what I mean? And then, like you said, like we also say, I love you a lot. And that's actually something he taught me. He just, says it a lot. And I remember even like when we were dating and he would say it all the time, I'd be like, oh, he really says that a lot. I guess I should do the same thing. And now it's just something we do. And that's even a little way to just like remind each other. But yeah, as far as like his work goes, it is different than a lot of people, right? And as far as like connecting goes, same thing. He comes home, I'm the first one that he comes to. And as much as I'm sure he wants to just like reach down and grab those cute little babies, I am always the one that he comes to first. And then I think the FaceTime at the end of the day, if he's on shift, that's like that's our thing. So
that's good.
Yeah, and think along the lines of the job is we've learned just communication too. It's like
and honesty.
If I ran a really tough call, like communicating that to her is like, hey, I might be a little on edge today. I need some patience. And I used to try to hide that from her.
And we learned that because, he would be like, I don't want to like hurt her from what I saw, and he thought he was saving me in that way. And it ended up hurting us because I'd be like, what's wrong with you? Like, I was going to have a good day. Like, what's wrong with you? And then he's like, well, guess what I just saw, and so now it's like,
communicating, like rough day at work, saw something that was tough, communicating that to her, just opening that door of like, hey, I'm fine, but like also I need some patience today, sort of thing. Or if I'm up all night, then then she's really good about like setting up our day accordingly to that, or like
very good.
not having an expectation for our day when I come home that we're going to go to the zoo all day. It's like, hey, how was your night? Do you need some time? And we always do, like, if I'm not having to work the next day, like we do a family breakfast when I get home, or just make it fun.
Okay.
And so, yeah, it's learning how to, she sets the environment in our home up very, very well and comfortable for me to come home to, no matter what my day looked like the day
that's
before.
great. Yeah.
And so, and with that came, it was through just communication.
Yeah,
knowing
and
that
it's not always been like that. Like, we had to learn for sure.
I was very closed off and didn't want her involved in that part of my life at all, to like protect her. But then she'd be like, I don't even know what you do.
Right.
Like, I don't even know what your day's like.
Right.
And,
Yeah.
like, some days you come home super happy and full of energy and stoked. And then there's other days where you come and I could like sense there's something wrong, or you need more time. And so just inviting her in on that was extremely helpful in
Connecting us.
Yep.
Yeah.
Staying connected.
Yeah.
So
That's
good.
good, babe.
Yeah.
So
good.
a important question to go along with the question you guys just answered is, what are some of the signs of that you can use, that you can look at and see that help you discern that you're disconnected? How can you discern disconnection?
I think we're both like aggravated, you know, because it's like we crave that. We crave that connection with each other.
You feel it in the home too.
Yeah.
Like, you see it in your kids, you see it in just your interaction, and like we know when we're like, okay, it's been way too long since we've had a date night, or we've connected, or maybe we even just need to go on a walk to the park as a family.
Yeah.
And like just do some family connect.
Yeah.
I can even think back on a time when I think he was working like a 48-hour, like doing a cover for someone or whatever. And he came home, and like we were initially like really excited to see each other. But then as soon as he came home, it was like just butting heads, like left and right. And we were, and then like, I would say a couple hours went by, and it just didn't feel right. You know, like everybody, there was just kind of like chaos. And I just remember Will stopping and being like, okay, we need to pray, because like this is not, this isn't us.
Yeah.
So obviously something needs to change.
Yeah.
And so, I think, yeah, just, you can feel it.
Yeah.
You can feel it. There's aggravation. There's, you know, and obviously prayer will always connect you with your spouse.
Yeah. That's good.
Right.
I feel like that so many people lose sight of their connection they have with their spouse, and they actually get numb to the aggravation or those signs that they're disconnected until it becomes the normal culture in their home.
Right.
And so for the listeners out there who don't think about that very often, I feel like that's a critical piece for marriages that go the distance.
Yep.
Is the ability to discern, hey, we are disconnected and we need to reconnect.
Yep.
That there's a sense of, you're doing your thing, I'm doing my thing, we're in the same house, but we're not connected.
Yep.
And so I hope that the listener takes from this the fact that it doesn't have to be a complex plan to reconnect. It's just about just doing something together and beginning to get time in together and be intentional in that. And so it's so critical for that long-term marriage success is to stay connected and to recognize when you've slowly started drifting apart and to reconnect.
That's really important, is recognizing it.
Yeah.
Recognizing it early and being so in tune to your home to where like there's no slack.
Yeah.
Right.
The second that it starts to feel off or the enemy's getting in, it's like, hold on.
Yeah.
let's correct this, because
Yeah.
I think so many people just let the little things go, let the little things go, and they just keep stacking up until it just becomes this wall between you, and then you're blindsided by the enemy. It's you don't even know that it happened, and then it's the point where you can't even recognize it because you've gotten so far.
Part of your culture.
Right.
Yeah,
It
it just
becomes normal,
your
like-
lifestyle.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so some of the things to look at would be like for a man, it's like if you've not been connected sexually with your wife, you're going to start, boy, this could happen either way, but it's like you're going to start looking around, right?
Yep.
You start seeing that. It's like, wait a second, we need
Right.
to connect at that level.
Yep.
Brenda and we did an episode on the 6 areas of intimacy.
Yep.
Really good.
And every one of those areas is an area where there's opportunity for connection or disconnection.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so beginning to really discern, hey, have we done something fun together in a while?
Right.
Or, you know what, have we
laughed.
figured out a way to sit down and do our finances together in
Mhm.
unity and in peace and with intimacy? We dream together. So all of those different areas really have opportunity for us to get more and more connected in.
Yep.
But they also have opportunities for us to grow disconnected in as well. So being able to discern is really, really critical. And so if you're a young married couple out there, it's like, have a conversation. Hey, where are we at? We've both been running at work. Do we need to get away for a weekend? Or if you're a young married with kids, it's like, hey, do we need to hire a sitter and go out and get dinner together? So practically speaking, being able to discern it, which you can discern it.
100%.
And then being willing to step into a solution for that to reconnect. So I love what you guys are saying. It's really, really good stuff.
I think what's really hard about now, or just challenges that we even see in like our friends, is times are expensive, and the dual income house is pretty common nowadays. And it feels like, I know when Sid was working and I was working, it felt like we were just playing pass off with the kids.
Yeah.
And then you only get one day on the weekend, a Saturday. And a lot of couples, that's when they want to go golfing or go do something with the buddies because they don't have time to do that during the week. And so
I quit my job.
how do because I want to help these people, but I have a very unique job. How do you, what are some things that you can share with these couples on where their time is extremely limited?
Yeah.
Like extremely limited. The conversations that I have with friends is like, you're working 5 days a week. And you both are. And
you add
then
kids in the mix of that, and it's like, where do you
in
guys
sports,
even talk?
kids in sports, and then you go to bed exhausted and you do it all the next day. And you do that 5-6 days a week. It's like, I want to help these people, but I can't really speak from experience because my job schedule isn't like that. So how do you disciple or encourage, or what are some things that we can share with?
One thing, just as we're talking, this ties in, is that sometimes we get independent in our own lane, doing what, like, I've got to go to work, the wife's working, and we're not turning to each other. We're actually, I'm and turning away from. And so it's that place where you're like, you've got to get back to turning into each other. But I will have to say, for me personally, my mother-in-law had a career. She was a nurse, and my father-in-law was a pastor. And her words to me when I was a young mom was like, I regret I wasn't home with my kids. That rung in me. And I said, I do not want to get to a point in my life where I regret that I wasn't with my kids.
And that's where we were at. That's why we were like, something's got to change.
And I feel like for us, then we got on the same page and we were in unity. And there's that place of unity that you get into, because sometimes you have to reevaluate, why are we in the rat race? Let's evaluate this. Why are we living at a standard, maybe? That a world standard? Are we willing to make some sacrifices? Because if we look ahead, in that place of no regret. And so that actually shaped us to where I still work. I did little things on the side,
Yep.
the thrift thing, but I was able to be home with our kids, and we made that a priority, and we made sacrifices. But let me tell you, I'm on the other end, and I have zero regret
Yeah.
that I got to parent, be at my kids' games, and that, you know, I had the opportunity. I led them all to the Lord
Mhm.
and home because we were reading a book, the Bible. And then it was like, they were like, I want Jesus in my heart,
Yeah.
you know, but that's a privilege I got for the sacrifice that was made.
Yeah.
So, but that has to be, you know, in a couple's relationship, they have to talk through that. I want to know the whys of why are we running so hard?
Yep.
Yeah, that's good.
And let's get back to simplifying.
Yeah.
And the focus being on family again.
Yep.
And I think so that would be my advice.
Yeah.
And what would be
Yeah, no, I feel like that's exactly right, and it is right in line with what I was going to say. And that, you know, when you have less of something, you have to be very intentional with it. The less you have, the more intentional you need to be. And if there's a case where you have both of you working and there's not a lot of time, then you need to be very intentional with the time that you do have. And that means that you're not just going out and doing what you want to do, but it's like, what do we need to do? What should we do? And so that would be, you know, a thought as far as like planning out your time. It's what are you going to do when you get that time together? And so that's a pretty clear one, but very few people enjoy or want to take that time to plan. And so it's like, plan ahead. Think about what it is you want. Maybe you want to surprise your wife with a dinner date night or something, whatever it is. But, and then in lines with what Brenda said, that's a hard decision to make. But, we made that decision early on, and we never ever regretted it. And you know, it reflected in the vehicles we drove. And you know, I being a blue collar guy, you know, it was always, you know, challenging financially early on when we were starting our business. But it was like we knew the value that we had in our family, in our home, because she was able to stay home with the kids. And so it was such a beautiful thing to be able to do. And you don't even look back on any of the sacrifices that we made and think about those.
Right.
No.
It's all about the joy and the life and everything
connection.
And so if someone's out there and they're a single mom and they're having to work, or if they're a single dad and they're having to work, you know, and just their time is just so busy, or a married couple that's having to work two jobs, each of you are working. There's no judgment or condemnation on you, but if you have time, you got to make sure that you're being intentional with it and you're planning it out.
And most people don't stick with because time, there's the time pressure. So then what slips is, okay, we're not going to church because we have a weekend and I'm exhausted. So what happens is then there's this things begin to erode. And so in the erosion process, we find ourselves in the bottom of a pit going, oh my gosh, how do I get out of this? But it's been a process of erosion.
Over time.
And so it's over time. And so it's like, but the hope is that you actually can get out of the pit. And you can actually build again. And so looking at that foundation of what you want to build, how do you want to build? Is Jesus the center? And I will have to say, just from our own experience with our own kids, we've had some that were working, and it was so stressful to have with a family that like the anxiety is real. And so I want to say, where's the health of your wife? Where's the health of the husband? And so there's a lot to that.
We have seen God provide time and time again.
That's right.
And that's the thing. Like when you're choosing family, God's going to provide.
That's right.
You know, like that's because I know fear can creep in. Like, well, where's the money? If you're going to choose your family that God gave you, He will provide.
That's right. Amen.
You know?
That.
Yeah, and living in a smaller home with a cheaper, less expensive vehicle, perhaps, if you need to do that to make it work, Do the things that make it work. It's, this is a deep subject, but again, coming from us who are on the other side of it, fantastic.
You only have one
We're so glad
chance.
we did it.
You only have one chance with your kids.
Yeah.
And one day they're going to be gone.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you're going to be thankful for everything that you poured into them.
Yeah.
And you're going to be thankful that you went to church. You're going to be thankful that you went to their games. And so we are on the other end, but it's like, let that be words of wisdom.
Yeah.
Is, no matter what your scenario is, get back to those bases, because, your kids will not be with you
Yeah.
for your whole life.
Yeah.
So it's just a season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a gift
Yeah.
that God has given us to equip them.
That's right.
And our marriage is a gift
Yeah.
that we have to pour into. Everything is a gift from God, and changing our lens to see that actually this is a gift, and I need to treat it like a gift.
Yeah.
And my children are a gift.
Yeah.
And I will treat them like they're a gift. And our home, whether it's simple, it's a gift. And it's that gratitude piece. I know we talk about that a lot, and you guys talk about that a lot on the podcast.
So important.
But it's being grateful for the little things, and that we don't compare our lives to the world. We don't compare our marriage to the world. In fact, just being in ministry for so many years, you could see a couple at church that looked like the perfect couple. They acted perfect, and you're like, oh, wow, what a great couple. And then they'd come to you with their problems or their scenarios, and you're like, they're actually really broken.
Yeah.
And there's things that happen behind closed doors nobody knows and nobody sees. And they need healing. They need Jesus at the center again, and they need some freedom.
Yeah.
And so,
That's so good. Absolutely. I think that there's been some common threads throughout this whole conversation we've had. What would be one thread that you've noticed in the responses that we've given to these questions? You guys have any that, as we wrap things up here, do you guys have any that stick out to you? Any common threads?
Jesus at the center.
come on.
Yep.
Sure.
Yep.
I was going to say.
Because, it's this conversation that we've had, you just see the fear in these people of wanting to keep up with the Joneses or wanting to keep up with the world standard. And you don't give God the opportunity to come through when you're doing that. You're trying to do it all in your own strength. And it's that surrender aspect of it's like, in your gut of what you're supposed to do, but it takes that surrender piece to actually like go through with it and to say, you know what, I am going to stay home with my kids, and we're going to see where God comes through in this area. And he always does, just like what we were saying. It's like, he always comes through, and you pray for new opportunity if you need new opportunity, and you just get on your knees and pray, and you thank him, and you approach everything from that position of gratitude. Thank you for this daily bread.
Yeah.
That's right.
And it's like, man, he continues to come through. So if you do find yourself in that place of fear, and that fear is keeping you somewhere, that's not what God is intending. That's not where he wants you to stay.
Right.
He's calling you into new ground, new territory, and that it's scary.
Yeah.
Hey,
but we can trust him. That's right. That's called walking by faith, not by sight.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so growing that's really good. Anybody else got any kind of common threads? I think for me, that one of the threads I've seen is just the fact that you've got to always work towards priority.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's just you've got the priority in place, but you're always working towards it.
Yep.
And so if you can do that through the years, you're gonna go the long run in your marriage. So that's a big one in this conversation I've seen. Anything else? Brenda, I haven't heard you talk about how good looking I am. That was not a common thread in the conversation that I'm disappointed about, to be honest. But no,
that's just the obvious one. She didn't even need to bring that up.
Yeah, that's right. Maybe that's just what I want to hear, right? I love it. Oh, it's been so great having this conversation with you guys.
Yeah.
Cydney, Brenda, thanks for being on the show with us.
Absolutely.
Thanks for
We're
having us.
super grateful and love you guys. And we're blessed men for sure. And as men on assignment, we want to be men who are always pursuing the love of God and the love of our wives and as married men. And so this is a very important thing for us. And, the assignment of being a husband and your assignments as being wives is one of the greatest gifts, like Brenda said, that we have. And,
For sure.
and so let's walk in the life that God has for our marriages as husbands and wives and really see what happens when we surrender our lives in love to God and to each other and see how he blesses our marriages, our homes. And so for all you guys listening out there, we're super grateful that you were with us today. We have just one announcement this episode, and that is that we've got a couple spots left on our Trek Northwest trip. It's a 3-day backpacking trip in the Mount Hood National Forest coming up August 1 through 3. And so we've still got some spots available on that. You can go on our website at mobilizedman.com on the events page and sign up there. There's also a gear list, that type of thing. So consider going on that trip with us. It's one of my favorite trips of the year. It's a great time. And I know we've got several guys that are signed up and excited about it as well, but would love to have you if you're available to go. Other than that, it's been a great episode. And until next week, stay on the path.